Good afternoon, everyone, and we will get started in just one second here, okay? Okay, I think we'll put everyone in. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. For those of you I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Chris Murray, and I'm one of the coaches and the success advisors here with PGI. I've had the pleasure of working with Bob for over a decade and started off here like a lot of the people on our team. I was a client, went through a couple of the programs that really changed my life and kind of changed my focus and my purpose in life. And forever grateful for Bob's guidance and Arash's guidance. And again, these calls are really for you guys. And I'll also introduce my assistant, Kelly. Kelly, if you want to say hello real quick.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here today.
Perfect. And Kelly's going to help me out too. So if there's some questions that I'm not seeing people raise their hand, she'll kind of help make sure that I'm getting to everyone. So, that being said, I'd love for anyone who is willing to share, one of the biggest takeaways, one of the biggest ahas from this week that they got, maybe something new that you heard a little bit differently, and it's what you needed. So does anybody have the courage to step up and start us off?
I will.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you for this call. One of my biggest takeaways was this deeper realization that if I can think it, it's already in existence. And I've heard it said a few times that sometimes you've got to hear it more than once for it to really feel true. And that landed deeply with me, that if I can think it, then it must already be in existence. So I'm taking that really deeply inside at the moment, and leaning on that truth as I navigate some challenges.
Yeah, that's great, because I remember Bob used to always talk about, he would do lessons around belief, and he would always say, we believe on two levels. We can believe in this intellectually because it just makes sense, but then there's that real emotional belief. And when you're fused with that emotional belief where you're getting into that uncomfortable action, that's really where the magic will happen. It's you're acting on faith. And another great lesson, he talked about faith and fear, and he said both faith and fear demand that you believe in things that you can't see. And he said, if you're going to choose, what do you choose? And in my opinion, I think the masses are definitely playing life not to lose. They're playing to protect themselves, and not consciously. No one consciously chooses to struggle, but it doesn't matter what you consciously know. It matters where you're subconsciously conditioned.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Anybody else want to share any big takeaways? Oh, Rhonda, I think you're still muted. It looks like you're.
Am I muted?
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I actually.
Maybe it's my head, is that better?
Yep, that's better.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. So I actually posted it on the website too about paradigms, and I mentioned it to you in an email as well, that's really the biggest thing, is the power of paradigms and how they can thwart. So even you're talking about belief and going forward in belief, when you believe so much so strongly that you become very emotional in it, and you can really make things happen inside of that. But there's that little paradigm in the background too that can really undermine a lot of that, especially on days where things aren't going well, you're not, your self-confidence gets shaken, whatever. And I didn't realize how strong paradigms were until I started challenging myself to do bigger and better things in my life, and being confronted with that. And it's like, ooh, this is a Goliath here. Like, how do you slay the Goliath so that it doesn't have that much power over you? And so that's kind of my big thing, was just the power of the paradigms that Bob was talking about.
Yeah, it's, the paradigm was really the initial concept that kind of brought a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together for me. is just understanding. Because when I first got into this and started working with Bob, I'd been a student of material for many, many years. So it wasn't a new concept by any means, but, that paradigm is almost like that inner voice. Like it really is. It's the inner voice. And sometimes we just don't pay attention to the voice, right? Just meaning it's going on at all the time, but we don't realize what's really going on. And, its job is really to make you stay comfortable. That's its job. Doesn't want to get you uncomfortable, but the reality is to grow in life, to create better results in life. It's just, we have to be willing to get uncomfortable, and we got to be willing to push that inner voice down. One of our consultants, he used to call it the committee. And it really is. It's that internal discussions that we're all having at all the time. It's just, we're not paying attention.
So to help grow past that or facilitate that, do you have like a book you recommend on that, or exercise, like a mental exercise you do every day or something like that?
Well, like one of the things I would ask you to, I would tell everyone to do, we do this as a team. We ask ourselves like daily check-in questions at the end of the day. Did I have the attitude of someone that would have achieved my goal? Did I have the discipline of someone that would have achieved my goal? Did I have the image of someone that would have achieved my goal? So like really checking in with yourself more than anything. And there's a great quote that I love. It says, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And I think we live in a world where, there's so much information coming at us from all different directions. There's millions of books and great audios and videos on these subjects. But in my opinion, that just creates more chaos and confusion in most people's minds. It's the messy stuff. And I think most people, that's why they never stay focused on what they really want. We just go to the next book thinking we're missing something. And the truth is, you don't need anything else. You've already got it. It's just, you got to bring it out to the surface. So, my biggest piece of advice would just be taking uncomfortable action and looking at your daily habits. That's another big thing that I think a lot of people neglect. It doesn't matter how much of this we study and how much of this we know if we don't have good working habits. And, Bob, I'll tell you, he was an effective human being. He wasn't just a great teacher of this. He had phenomenal work habits. And, especially a lot of my clients that are doing, 7-8 figure incomes, they all have phenomenal work habits. And I think that's it. We got to look at our daily disciplines. Like, what are we really doing on a daily basis? And I don't think we stop to reflect enough to really look at that.
Okay, good. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for your question.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I really, this time is really all for you guys. So if you guys have any questions, or you have questions around the exercises, or you're struggling with something, you just want some direction, this is your time. So feel free to ask. I'm going to open up the chat too. Greetings from Romania. Hello.
I've got a question, Chris.
Sure, Don.
It's about literally kind of walking that line of flipping the emotions. So I've got some things going on in my circumstances which feel scary at the moment, which in my mind, I know I can see there's a way through and I can have a vision of where I'm headed, but my body can really get stuck in fear and I struggle to shift that state.
Sure.
And so I would love to open that up a little bit more and ask, what do you find to be the most effective ways to change state?
Sure. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that you can do. Are you comfortable sharing like what you're dealing with?
Yeah, just some clients haven't paid me and, I've got some financial squeeze going on, which is, circumstances.
Sure. So a couple of things, like just to change your energy. And again, this is why I always say it's different for different people. Like you got to know yourself, like I always talk about, successful people all have routines that they follow, but it's not always the same routine. So you just got to kind of find what works for you. But some of the things that work for me is like music. Like I'll go take a walk for an hour, just listen to some good music or an audio book, like something that I know is going to help me shift my energy. For things like if it's in business, for example. In fact, I just had a conversation, this is probably about 2-3 weeks ago, with one of our consultants. And, he's been doing pretty well, and he was just asking, he said, well, what can I do to get to the next level? And we were just kind of masterminding, talking about some ideas of things he can do, not just to get more clients, but ways in which he could provide more value to his existing client base. So he ended up actually doing like a high level mastermind group for a weekend out in Dublin, out in Ireland. And, he ended up getting 10 clients, charging 15 a person. So an extra 150,000. And that was something he did. I don't think it was within 24 hours. Right. So he came up with the concept, sent it out. And, I'm sure he did some stuff on his social media too for it. But again, it's like, it's kind of what you said. The ways are here. It's just about discovering the ways. I would say connecting with some other like-minded people. I'm a big believer in the value of masterminding, but make sure it's the right people. It's that can take time to find the right people. You don't want to just go get into a group to get into a group. You want to find somebody that's going to be honest with you. And, a lot of times we don't want to hurt other people's feelings if we see some blind spots. But I mean, that's honestly, if you're a good friend, good mastermind partner, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to help point out some of the things that they may not see.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, I sometimes forget to use things like music. So, and yeah, just reinforcing the self-talk over and over and over again.
Yeah. And it could be like, if there's a certain like video or audio that you like that really resonates with you, just play that same thing over and over. A good one, I think, for circumstances, if you're dealing with struggle, I think in The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles' book, in that chapter 4, we talks about thinking truth regardless of appearances. It's in there's that one page, it's probably 3 or 4 paragraphs. Like that's one I would tell you to read like 6-7 times throughout the day. And it's like I said earlier, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. It's like we know these things, but sometimes when we get hit in the face with an experience or circumstance, we react instead of respond.
Yeah. No, and everything is teaching us something. So I know that there's a gift in it. It's the growth edge. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to struggle with it, right? And this is why I think it's important to find other people, right, that can help you. So if you want to jump on a quick call, just one-on-one, I'd be more than happy to do that, see if I can help you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to do that. Yeah, I'll message you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
You bet.
I'd like
Hey,
to
Chris.
make a comment.
Sure.
Okay, I'm turning 70 and I'm retired. I don't have a business.
Mhm.
I am basically supporting my daughter in her business, providing financial support. But I've been living with financial insecurity for so long now, and that's what made me kind of get on board with listening to Bob. Also, I just kind of feel stuck.
Mhm.
I've kind of opened up my social network a bit and have even gone to a spiritual center, church kind of thing, where I've gotten opportunity to visit with like-minded people that have knowledge and belief in the astrological consciousness. And I've even got to talk to my dog, which was really cool. So I'm convinced as to, I guess I just don't understand how I fit into this paradigm.
Well, just understand, if you've, struggled with finances, anyone that's struggling with finances, just understand that's where the paradigm is set. It's not who you are, it's just where you've been conditioned. And that can be changed quickly and easily. But we got to be willing to accept that new idea. So like this week, we talked about, several different things. And I love these 5-day events because they really can create that emotional impact, but the truth is in 5 days, there's no chance we're going to go deep enough to create lasting change. So I would keep going through like some of these different exercises, like getting clear on the vision of what you do want to see. See, it's easy to say, I know what I want without being focused on it, without being emotionally involved in it. And I've used this example before about like everybody wants financial freedom. Like everybody does. Like, why would you not? But that doesn't mean that all of us are emotionally involved in financial freedom. And if we've been struggling financially, I can almost guarantee you you're more emotionally involved in the struggle than you are the freedom. So it doesn't matter how bad we want it. It matters what are we emotionally involved with the majority of the time. So this is why paying close attention to the way you're feeling is so important, because your feeling tells you what you're emotionally involved in. That's why Bob used to always say your feeling is nothing more than the conscious awareness of the vibration that you're in. So if you're worried, you're stressed, doubt, fear, any negative emotion, guarantee you're not focused on what you want, right? You're focused on circumstances or past or things that are slowing you down. So, specifically when it comes to money, it's just you want to start to switch the mind, focusing on ways in which you can create the kind of income that you want to create. Like money really is easy to earn once we understand how to earn it. And, Bob used to say that all the time. He said, money's so easy to earn. He said, we just make it so hard, and he used to do this thing. He called it reduce it to the ridiculous, where, let's say it's 100,000 a month is what someone wants to earn, right? And the 100,000 a month, some people say, oh my God, that's huge. Like if you're earning 1,000, how am I ever going to do that? Well, don't make it about the 100,000, make it, okay, you create something that's $1,000, you got to get 100 clients in a month. Or you create a program that's $10,000, you got to get 10 clients a month. And, we have a consultant on our team. He had that goal for a couple of years to get to 100,000 a month consistently, never did it. Right. And then one of the group trainings, he said, I don't know why I've been making this so hard. He said, I just got to focus on getting 10 clients. So he switched his energy and focused on 10 clients rather than the 100,000 and ended up hitting it that next month. So again, like setting the goal is intellectual. Achieving the goal is the lawful process, right? And if in the back of our mind, we're thinking, oh my God, 100,000 a month, that's impossible. Well, you're toast, right? You're never going to get there because you've already set the disbelief so that the belief isn't there. And that's what we got to learn to do. Is that making sense?
Yeah. Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would, for you specifically, I would determine exactly the amount of money that you'd like to be earning that's going to give you that flexibility, and I would tell you, look, we all want to help our kids, but you got to make sure you're helping yourself too.
Mhm.
Because if you're in a bad place and you're giving everything to her, and I'm not telling you not to, but it's just, you're going to find yourself in a very difficult position, right? Because, she can go out there and earn it too.
Mhm.
So does that help?
Yeah, so focusing more on the know what you want, and then focusing more on the action.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you always hear people saying this, you don't need to know the how. And
Yeah.
that's true. You need to know what you want and more importantly, why you want it. But then you got to work to figure out the how, right? And it might be an idea that just comes to you randomly that is what you go on to. And I promise you, when we switch our mind and focus on opportunities are all around us all the time. But sometimes we got to get our mind switched on that frequency. See, a lot of us are focused on lack and limitation. Every day I have conversations with people saying, well, how am I going to do this? There's a recession coming. Like, why in the hell would you put that out there? Like that has no depending or no factor on your finances. So look, we have the ability to create our own economy, right? And that's the thing is we got to really understand who we are and the power that you have inside of you to go create. You can do whatever you choose to do. It's just knowing that and then acting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. Anybody else have some questions? And I'll pull up the chat too.
Hey, Chris, there is a question in the chat. I don't know if you could see it. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, so I just saw that. So clarify the difference between mental activity and thinking. What is thinking? So thinking is kind of what I was talking about earlier. When you're checking in with yourself, did I act like the person that I need to become to achieve the goal? So it's where you're doing more introspective work. You're really thinking about things. You're figuring it out. Mental activity is just when our mind is getting pulled, in different directions. And it's just like, you're watching a movie and it's just like you're thinking, you're having these thoughts, but that's the mental activity. You're not really thinking. So not the critical thinking. And I love, in fact, it's open right here. So this is a book, Power of Awareness by Neville. It's my favorite book. And he talks about this in chapter 12. It's called Subjective Control. And, it's just basically, he's talking about the difference between mental activity and thinking. It's where you deliberately determine what you're putting into your thoughts, where you're really focused on something. And you got to remember, the majority of us are not doing this the most of the time. We're just operating off of the paradigm. So we're just operating wherever we've been conditioned. But again, these are easy concepts to understand and realize. But if we're not checking in, we're never going to change that. And this is why Bob said there's only two ways you're ever going to change your paradigm. One is an emotional impact. That's usually not good. That's usually something in your life that's forcing you to alter, right? So, going through a health scare, losing a job, going through a divorce, just something that rocks you to the core, that forces you to alter your behaviors. Okay. And, the only other way is really what we're teaching. It's the spaced repetition, action steps, and accountability over an extended period of time. So we don't get rid of the old paradigm. What we got to do is we got to create a new paradigm that slowly overtakes the old one. And that's what you got to learn to do. But you see, if we're not thinking and we're not checking in with ourselves, and this is, where I was stuck for probably 7 years. It's just, I was always watching videos and reading books and gathering more information. And I'll never forget, one of my first calls with Bob. Like, Bob was really good at calling you out in a good way, in a loving way. And he knew my background, my story. He knew that I'd been studying this for many years. And he asked me, he said, well, what's your goal? And I said, well, I want to create financial freedom. He said, great. What does that mean? And I said, well, I want to earn millions. I said, I don't want to put a limit to it. I said, you talk about infinite supply. And he said, well, you tell me you've been studying this for 7 years. And he said, you haven't even started with step one. He said, you have no goal. He said, look, you might think that's a small thing. This is everything. Like, to really sit down and think about what you want for your life, I promise you, is not an easy task, because your mind's going to take you in all these different directions. And you do it tomorrow, it'll probably take you in a new direction. But if you do this consistently over an extended period of time, that picture is going to become more and more clear in your mind. This is how you're going to build a burning desire. And I think most people's goals are wants. They're intellectual, right? I want to earn $1 million a year. But is it really a burning desire where you go to bed thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it, you are just locked into that goal, you're obsessed, right? But a healthy obsession. And that's what we have to learn to create. We got to create a healthy obsession with what it is that we really want. But to do that, you got to get clear on what you really want. So, Jana says, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry, Jan, I'm not sure. I think this is working on my end. You may want to log out and log back in. Okay. It's a really good question, though. Because I run it like I wouldn't have understood that 12 years ago. Like I said, I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I'd spent a lot of money on a lot of coaches, a lot of workshops, a lot of seminars, and very little results.
Well, speaking of talking about, using a lot of coaches or working with a lot of coaches, is this a good place for you to talk about the coaching here? And what does that look like as far as the Proctor program? Because I've been looking at doing that as well.
Sure. So we have a lot of different programs, and they're all totally different. They really are. So it really kind of depends on the goals. The one that we always talk about during these 5-day events is like the consultancy, which is pretty specific. It's really for people that want to get into this business and build their own coaching and consulting business. And it's really where we are mentoring you, kind of showing you step by step what to do and how to do it, to go out there and do it. And, we focus on a lot of different areas. So we focus on things like, teaching you how to master the material so that you can teach it to others. Because look, it's one thing to know this and to be able to answer the questions right. To be able to clearly get this in the minds of other people it takes work. Like you really got to work at that. And I think to be successful in this business, that's like, in my opinion, Bob's gift. He was very good at transferring belief. Like that's what he was really good at. But it's because he had studied this so in depth. And, you know, his belief in this was so strong. You know, but then we get into things like teaching you how to market yourself. Like, how do you get your clients? We teach you how to sell, like what to say, how to say it to get the clients, you know, plus we have all the materials in place for you. So you don't have to go create your own coaching programs. Like we already have the programs done. So this allows you to just kind of plug yourself into it right away and go out and start building the business. And I love that program. I really do. But again, Bob and I kind of disagreed on this. He thinks this was for everyone. And I don't. Like, I think you got to really have a passion for wanting to go out there and help people. Like, you got to really fall in love with that idea, you know, because otherwise, I don't think we're going to do the uncomfortable things that we're going to have to do to be successful. So this is why I think it is. I don't believe you have to find your passion to earn money. I think you can earn money anything.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think you have to find your passion, because I think that's what we're here for.
Well,
is
and
to
the,
figure
the,
that
the
out.
coaching thing is something that I am interested in and passionate about, and something that I've even done to some degree.
Mhm.
But because I'm not really familiar with the program, it kind of seems like going from zero into coaching, it feels like there's a missing step. Like, you don't need to be coached first and go through a development process before you get into
No,
the
you don't.
coaching, or
You don't. But here's the thing. It goes back to what we were talking about belief earlier. You
right?
know, if you would ask me that question 12 years ago, I would have said no. Like, you got to go get coached first. You got to go create some results and, you know, prove that you understand what you're talking about. But in my experience, I've learned that that's not the truth. You got to believe in the material, right? But, you know, I've had several people that have gone through that had created virtually no success, that have gone through it and earned millions of dollars. You know, so again, as long as you believe in the material, like what we're teaching, like you connect and resonate with the material, that's what it's about. It's not about us and our results. It's about your clients, and it's about how this material is going to help your clients. So again, you got to believe in the material as far as what you're teaching, because if you don't, like, people will know, they will feel
Right.
it. They will 100%. You got to be authentic. And that's why even when I get into this, there's certain lessons that I don't teach. And it's just because, again, I don't fully accept them yet. So I'm not going to teach something that I don't fully believe in. And that, again, it doesn't mean that it's not true. It doesn't mean that it is. It's just, again, if that's not in harmony with my belief system, I'm not going to teach it. I'm just not.
So with that said, I believe, like, these webinars that have been, these events that have been done, I've done a couple of them, and I really love the material. Like, it's spot on, like it's completely in my wheelhouse. Like, I really love that. But I am learning a lot of stuff. So if there were any hesitancy, it would be on not understanding it, not fully grasping it. You were talking about the transference of belief. Well, if I'm developing inside of one particular aspect, for example, paradigms or belief or your wants or being emotionally involved, like any of those aspects, like that's all kind of new information. So how are you coaching that when you're going kind of from zero to coaching somebody in that?
Yeah, good question. So the way why you can do that so quickly is because, again, you're leading them through. So, like, for example, we have a program called Thinking into Results, which is probably the main program that most consultants focus in on. And what it is, it's really, you know, 60 years of the best of Bob's teachings, just broken up into 12 individual lessons. So the material will do the heavy lifting. So they get there's like 12 videos, there's a 200-page workbook, a goal card. So the workbook will have all the exercises and take them through this process to answer these questions. The value in the consultant or coach, you're just leading them through the proven system. So we know it works. Like, we know if people follow this and do the work, they will get the answers, right? But again, the value in the consultant or the coach, you're leading them through this. You're holding them accountable. You're kind of directing them. Because I really believe that that's the main thing that people are missing. It's not having the right material. Like, I think we have the best material in the world. I really do. But I know there's a lot of great teachers out there. And I know there's a lot of people that have great teachings. And I think this is one of the biggest faults in human nature. It's like we're always looking for the next thing, thinking we're missing something. And again, it's not about more. It really isn't. You know, and going back to what you were talking about, I really believe one of the best ways to learn this is to teach this.
Right.
Because again, when you start to see the results in your clients, your belief starts to raise. That's why I got into this originally. Like it really was, because I knew myself well enough that if I would have just gone through that coaching and said, hey, I got this all figured out, like I would go back to some IT job. I would be doing something that I hated because I knew that's what I would do. So I knew that by putting myself in this position to get into this, it would force me. It would force me to do the things that I didn't want to do it. Like I didn't. I had a lot of resistance to sales and selling, and most people do. And, you know, I always tell people, you want to be a great coach, you have to become a phenomenal salesperson. And I know as soon as I say that, 95% of people are turned off, but it's because people don't understand what selling is. You know, Bob used to always say, selling is service. He said, it's not something you're doing to them, it's something you're doing for them. And he said, as long as you believe in what you're doing, you know, you have the ability to help somebody, you're doing them a disservice if you're not selling them.
Yeah, that's
So never
true.
forget that.
Well, and your comment too, the transferring belief, that kind of really resonates with me too. That to me would be, that's selling right there. Is,
That's it.
you know, you're providing the service through transferring belief so that somebody is served through that entity, whatever it is, to help them to get
Right.
to a better place, which, you know, doing something really great for somebody, which is what I've done before in a different area, but to see the light bulb go on, the aha moment in them, the growth inside of them, like that's the coolest thing. And I've been looking at several different types of coaching programs, but I keep coming back to this one. I'm really liking what I'm seeing in this one so far.
Yeah.
So, and I like the events that Bob puts on too.
I love these two. And this is, you know, one of the strategies that a lot of, you know, coaches and people in this industry are using now. Like a year and a half ago when we started it, there wasn't a lot of people doing it. You know, it's called the live launch method. It's just another strategy, but it's a phenomenal strategy because you're providing value, right? And you're giving the exercises each day. And the ones that do the exercises are always the one that are going to have the emotional connection. So it's like you don't really have to sell anybody because people want it. And, you know, that's it. Like you just got to get people to want what you've got. But to do that, you got to be authentic. Like you got to be teaching what resonates with you. Like when I'm training and working with my clients that are consultants, like I tell them, like, focus on one of the lessons that really resonates with you, like for whatever reason. And that's what you go out and you teach. Don't go try and master everything. I mean, that's going to take you some time. But, you know, you also don't want to sit and, you know, try and learn it for 6 months before you get going and getting clients either, because that's a trap. That's a big trap.
Right. Well, and there's a concept too that's kind of a new concept in the marketing area, and they call it attraction marketing. In order to draw clients to you, to get them to want, you know, whatever it is that you're offering them. Do you guys teach a little bit on that too, on the attraction marketing and creating the want in somebody for what the program offers?
I'm not familiar with attraction marketing, but absolutely we get into the psychology of you know, how to get into people's wants, because that's the key to all this. And not just this, anything. Like you got to be able to get people connected to what they really want. So we do teach you how to take them through a very specific process to discover that. And that's exactly what it is. It's a discovery process. Most people don't know what they want. I know, you know, you don't want to say that too loud, right? Because most people believe they know what they want, but it's pretty easy if you ask a couple of questions to see that they don't really know what they want. And, you know, I'm one of those people that would have fought you to the end, say, no, I know what I want, but I didn't know what I wanted.
Yeah. I'm finding people that have settled, that they're afraid to go after what they want. They just settle, and that's kind of a sad thing too. Anyway, I don't want to hijack the whole meeting.
We can schedule some time, you know, but going back to your question, I mean, there's a lot of different. Then we have programs where we just coach people, so we just help you get clear on what you want, and we kind of take you through a path to get there. You know, we have other programs like our Inner Circle, which is kind of more of our elite coaching program. It's not where we study what Bob was teaching. It's where we studied what he studied. So a lot of Neville and Troward, a lot of our existing clients are in that program, you know, a lot of our consultants and stuff, just seeing ways in which they can get to the next level. So again, there's a lot of different ones for anyone who's interested. Like best thing to do is to schedule a one-on-one call so I can kind of find out more about you and what you want.
Okay, sure. I'll do that.
Perfect. Let's see.
There's a few questions in the chat if you would like to look in there.
Perfect.
New one.
Let's see, Marguerite. Chris, I'm exploring the difference between my decisions and my committed decisions. A desire, the core difference. So I always tell people the way you can tell whether or not you made a real committed decision is looking at your actions, right? Because actions are always the key, you know. And again, and I'm telling you from my own experience, like before I really got into all this, I was one of those people that got into a bunch of different things. I was always getting into new businesses, like on the side, like, you know, email marketing, social media marketing, list building, selling on Amazon, eBay, Shopify, like any shiny new thing, I'd be all over it thinking, oh, this is my thing. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. Same story every single time. Like I would start the training. Most of them, I'd never even finish the training. And then my attention would be pulled in a new direction. So I'm telling you, your actions will always tell you whether or not you made a committed decision. Always. And you know, if you haven't, you don't feel bad about it. You recognize it. So this is going back to mental activity versus thinking. Being aware of it is thinking. It's realizing, well, I'm not making a committed decision. And you know, I love that quote that I think I don't know if it was Rosh or Bob used, but they talked about the difference between being interested and committed. He said, when you're interested, you do whatever's convenient. When you're committed, you do whatever, you know, whatever it takes, not what's convenient, and only accepting results. And that's true. So good question. Chris, do you know if there are examples of consultants working with charities or conscious capitalist ventures? I do. Yeah, I know 100%. I know there's some that have worked with charities. A lot of consultants want to work with kids and go in schools and things like that, which is, look, I always tell people you don't have desire by accident. If there's a desire there, it's there for a reason and you got to address it. You know, but like, for example, let's say you're getting into this and you want to build this business, you know, you got to be creating income, and, you know, schools won't pay. Bottom line, they won't. You know, they might give you a couple $100, but you're never going to make money. Charities can pay. Charities do have money, you know, and, you know, so again, you got to find a way to make sure that you're building the business side of it to do some of those things. So like for kids, like I said, you got to make sure that you're generating the income that allows you to do and spend your time working with kids. Okay. I don't see any others in the chat. So anybody else want to raise their hand and ask a question? For some reason, I can't see everyone on here.
So how do we sign up for a one-on-one with you?
Yeah, so I can put in, Kelly, do you have my link? By any chance, my Calendly link? Could you put that in the chat?
Yes, I sure will. And you also had Zofia that raised her hand. I don't know if she can't unmute herself, but I will put the link right now in the chat.
Okay.
I don't see Zofia on here.
It starts with Z.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to, oh, sorry, my camera is not working at the moment. So
Oh, that's okay.
I just wanted to add, because Rhonda was asking about the consultant, and I don't know if you remember, I think I might be the first BGI consultant in Slovakia, and I started, well, basically I signed in for the 12-month coaching program. Then after a few weeks, I decided I just want more out of it. So I decided to be the Procter Gallagher consultant. So Rhonda, I just want to say, just if you feel it, just go for it, because I must say, the more you will be studying, you will understand it. You will understand it, and everything clicks. And and when you get to talk to people, as Chris said, well, that's my opinion and my experience. The more you talk to people and you understand, because Bob used to say, you really understand it if you know explain it to people, if you know how it works, and you really understand, you really explain to people how it really works. And I can see, I've been feeling so uncomfortable for since I started, but I just keep going over and over and over and over and over again. And I just keep saying to myself, repetition is my best friend. And I do it no matter what, because I have made a committed decision from myself to myself, and quitting is not an option. So I just keep working towards my goal every single day. And, and this week, I think it was on the day 4 when there was an interview with Kim Carrot. Am I right, Chris? I think it was on day 4.
Yeah, that's right.
And actually, when she was talking about her story, at the end of her story, I literally started to cry. Actually, I just felt this, I just really felt this, these feelings, and I really started to cry. And it's just been amazing. I'm growing. I am stretching, I have been feeling so uncomfortable, but I just don't give up. So Rhonda, if you just feel it, just go for it. And I can tell from my experience, everything, just clicks, and you will understand, and everything just falls into place, because it's a step-by-step process, and it's just amazing. And you get to study every day, and you have to study. And to be honest, I cannot imagine not to study every day. It's just the part of your identity or your self-image, It's just, I cannot imagine my day without studying with BGI. So I just wanted to say this.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's, for me, that's what I love about this business too. It's just like, it doesn't matter if you're doing 5 hours a week in the business. It's just, again, it keeps you on path. It keeps you focused. And, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think our community is just absolutely amazing, especially the consultants. Like, everyone really is there to help each other. And, I think it's always good to see the wins and the success stories. And, Kim has done incredible. I mean, I don't know if they shared her whole story on this one, but, I mean, the most Kim had ever earned was like $32,000 in a year when she started this. And, now she does over $1 million a month. And it's not by accident, it's she grew into that.
And the best thing is, like, I am really believing it now, even if I don't see the results I really want, I just say, okay, it doesn't matter. I just don't let my present results control my thinking. I just keep going and working towards my goal every single day. And I just say, no matter what, if I'm not earning the money I want, but I just keep working towards my goal every single day. And I don't let my present results control my thinking. I am in charge of my thinking. So it's just amazing. And I just feel really uncomfortable to be honest, but I just keep going.
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, let's see if anyone else has got a question. Oh, thank you for putting in there, Kelly. So Kelly put a link to my my calendar in the chat. Or if you don't see that, you can always email me too, and I'll send you a link and we can schedule a time. Because honestly, that's the best way for me to help you anyways. Like, it's hard. Like, I can answer questions on these, but for me to dive into your personal goals and, kind of talk to you for a little bit to see where your paradigm is, that's where I can really help you. So again, if you're interested, feel free to click on the link and find a time.
Chris, I also put my email and phone number in there. And I just wanted to let Trisha know that you did get her email. We just didn't have a phone number associated with her account. So I was going to call her this morning, but then was unable to. And so we are happy to get something scheduled for you to speak with Chris.
See if there's any others in the chat. Oh, that's Trisha. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, does anyone else have any questions? No? All right, guys. Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to get on here. All this will be recorded, so they'll get the replay out probably in the next day or so.
Okay.
You know, if you do have any questions, like I said, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly. So either scheduling a time or just send me an email. All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have great holidays.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You do as well. Thanks for all the
Thank you.
information. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.